I am sitting in my kitchen in Portland, Oregon, staring at my phone screen with 39 missed calls from the same unknown number. My hands are shaking as I scroll through the call log, each ring representing something I thought was buried forever. The Nebraska area code makes my stomach drop because I recognize it immediately. 20 years ago, when I was 8 years old, my parents drove me to a Shell gas station in the middle of Nebraska and left me there as what they called a joke. They wanted to see how long it would take me to get home. I never did go home. I built my own life, my own family, and I thought they were gone forever. This morning proved me wrong. Before I share what happened that day that changed everything, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please hit that like button if you have ever felt abandoned, and subscribe, because what happened next will shock you. Trust me, you will not see this coming. It was the summer of 1995, and I was 8 years old, buzzing with excitement about our first big family vacation. Dad had been planning this road trip from Chicago to Yellowstone National Park for months, and I had been counting down the days on my Little Mermaid calendar. Robert, my father, was a construction worker with calloused hands and a laugh that could fill a room. Linda, my mother, worked at a local diner and always smelled like coffee and vanilla perfume. They seemed like the perfect parents to my 8-year-old eyes. We loaded up our blue Ford sedan with camping gear, snacks, and my stuffed rabbit named Buttons. The first day of driving was magical. We sang along to country music on the radio, stopped for ice cream at roadside stands, and played 20 questions until I fell asleep in the back seat. Dad would point out interesting landmarks, and Mom would take pictures with her disposable camera. I felt so loved, so secure in our little family unit, traveling across America together. But as the miles passed, I started noticing things. Late at night, when they thought I was sleeping, I could hear them arguing in hushed whispers about money. Mom would say things like, "We cannot afford this," and Dad would respond with, "She deserves a real vacation." I did not understand what they meant, but their voices carried a tension that made my stomach feel funny. During the day, they would paste on bright smiles, but I could see the worry lines around Mom's eyes getting deeper. On our third day, we stopped at a Shell gas station in the middle of Nebraska. It was blazing hot, the kind of heat that made the asphalt shimmer like water. Dad pulled up to pump number 4, while Mom went inside to buy snacks and use the restroom. I needed to use the bathroom too, so I followed her inside. The gas station was typical small-town America, with racks of beef jerky lottery tickets and local newspaper headlines about corn prices. While I was in the restroom, I could hear Mom talking to Sally, the gas station attendant. Sally was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a ponytail. Through the thin walls, I heard Mom saying things like, "She has been so difficult this trip," and "Kids just do not appreciate anything these days." My cheeks burned with shame. I had not meant to be difficult. I thought I had been good. When I came out of the restroom, Dad was inside talking with Mom and Sally. They were laughing about something, and I heard Dad say, "Wouldn't it be funny if we just left her here? See how long it takes her to get home." Sally laughed uncomfortably, and Mom giggled in a way that did not sound right. I did not understand the joke, but something about their tone made my chest feel tight. "Come on, sweetheart," Dad said, putting his hand on my shoulder. "We are going to play a game of hide and seek. It will be fun." My eyes lit up immediately. I loved hide and seek. "You stay right here by this bench outside and count to 100. Close your eyes tight and count slowly. We are going to hide, and then you have to find us." I was thrilled. This was the best vacation game ever. I sat on the concrete bench outside the gas station entrance, closed my eyes as tight as I could, and started counting. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. I could hear car doors slamming and an engine starting, but I kept counting diligently. Hide and seek was serious business, and I wanted to win. 97 Mississippi, 98 Mississippi, 99 Mississippi, 100. I opened my eyes with a huge grin, ready to start searching for my parents. The parking lot was empty, except for one pickup truck and a motorcycle. Our blue Ford sedan was nowhere to be seen. I giggled, thinking they were really good at this game. They must have hidden the car behind the building. I ran around to the back of the gas station, calling out, "Mom, Dad, I found you," in a sing-song voice. Nothing but dumpsters and empty prairie grass. I checked behind the building around the air pump and even inside the small convenience store. Sally watched me with growing concern as I searched every corner, my voice getting a little more desperate with each call. "Honey," Sally said gently, "where are your parents?" I explained about our hide-and-seek game, still smiling, but feeling the first flutter of confusion in my stomach. Sally walked outside with me and scanned the parking lot. She checked the security cameras from inside her face, growing more serious by the minute. 20 minutes passed, then 30. Sally offered me a free soda and a bag of chips, but I was too nervous to eat. My excitement was rapidly turning into something cold and scary. "Maybe they went to get gas somewhere else," I suggested hopefully. Sally nodded, but I could see in her eyes that she did not believe it either. After an hour, Sally made a phone call. I heard her describing our car and my parents to someone on the other end. She kept glancing at me with a mixture of pity and anger that I did not understand. When she hung up, she sat down next to me on the bench. "Sweetheart," she said softly, "I think your parents might not be coming back for a while, but we are going to take good care of you. Okay?" For the first time since the game started, I felt real fear creeping into my chest. This was not how hide and seek was supposed to work. Officer Martinez arrived 45 minutes later, his police cruiser kicking up dust in the parking lot. He was a kind man with gentle eyes and a mustache that reminded me of my uncle. He knelt down to my level and spoke in a voice that adults use when they are trying not to scare children, but I could hear the concern underneath. "Can you tell me about your parents, Amanda?" he asked. I gave him their names, described what they looked like, and told him about our vacation to Yellowstone. But when he ran the license plate number that Sally had written down, his face changed. The registration was fake. The names I had given him did not match any records. My parents had been planning this. The word abandoned kept coming up in the adults' conversations, but I did not want to believe it. 8-year-olds do not get abandoned by their parents. That was something that happened in movies, not in real life. Not to little girls who had been excited about seeing Old Faithful and camping under the stars. Sally stayed with me while Officer Martinez made more phone calls. She brought me coloring books from the gas station's small toy section and let me help her stock the candy shelves. But every time a car pulled into the parking lot, my head would snap up, hopefully thinking it might be the blue Ford sedan coming back for me. As the sun started setting, painting the Nebraska sky in shades of orange and pink, Officer Martinez sat down with me again. "Amanda, we need to find you a safe place to stay tonight," he said gently. "There's a very nice lady named Mrs. Henderson who takes care of children who need help. You will stay with her until we figure out what happened to your parents." Mrs. Henderson arrived in a station wagon that smelled like air freshener and old cigarettes. She was in her 60s with silver hair and clothes that looked like they came from a thrift store. She seemed kind enough, but everything felt wrong. I was supposed to be roasting marshmallows with Mom and Dad, not following a stranger to an unfamiliar house. The bedroom she showed me was small and clean with generic furniture and walls painted pale yellow. There were no personal touches, no family photos, nothing that made it feel like home. I sat on the narrow bed holding Buttons, my stuffed rabbit, and tried to make sense of what had happened. Maybe this was all part of the game. Maybe Mom and Dad were testing how brave I could be. I cried myself to sleep that first night, still believing they would call or show up at Mrs. Henderson's door. But morning came with no word. Mrs. Henderson made me pancakes and tried to be cheerful, but I could see the pity in her eyes. She had been doing this long enough to know how the story would end. The next day, Officer Martinez called with news that made my world crumble completely. He had contacted my school back in Chicago. My parents had withdrawn me from enrollment 3 weeks before our vacation. They had been planning this abandonment for almost a month, carefully covering their tracks and preparing to disappear. I spent the next few years moving between different foster families throughout Nebraska and Iowa. Some families were kind, but overwhelmed, trying to help too many children with too few resources. Others seemed to be collecting foster kids for the monthly checks, providing basic care, but little emotional support. I learned quickly to be self-sufficient, to not ask for too much, and to build walls around my heart. School became my refuge and my escape route. I threw myself into my studies with an intensity that surprised my teachers. Math problems and book reports could not abandon you. Good grades were something I could control when everything else felt chaotic. I read voraciously, disappearing into stories about families who loved each other and children who were wanted. In therapy sessions, social workers would try to get me to talk about my feelings, but I refused to discuss the gas station. I would answer questions about school and my foster families, but the moment anyone brought up my parents, I would shut down completely. I developed a tough exterior that kept people at arm's length. It was safer that way. When I turned 18, I aged out of the foster care system with nothing but a garbage bag full of clothes and a fierce determination to build the life my parents had stolen from me. I had saved money from part-time jobs and qualified for financial aid, so I enrolled in community college with plans to study social work. If I could not save my 8-year-old self, maybe I could save other children. I moved to Portland, Oregon for college because it felt far enough away to start completely fresh. Portland State University became my second chance at everything. I worked multiple jobs to support myself through school, sleeping only a few hours each night, but I had never been more motivated. Every A grade felt like proof that I was worthy, that I mattered, that the gas station did not define me. My major in social work was an obvious choice. I wanted to work with children in foster care, to be the adult I had needed when I was 8 years old. My professors were impressed by my dedication and insight into the system. I graduated summa cum laude, and my thesis on attachment trauma in abandoned children won the department's highest honor. Landing a job with a local nonprofit organization felt like the final piece of my professional puzzle clicking into place. I specialized in working with children who had been removed from their homes, helping them navigate the complex emotions of feeling unwanted. Every child I worked with reminded me of myself in some way, and I poured everything I had into helping them heal. It was at a coffee shop near the university where I met Marcus. I was sitting alone at a corner table reading a book about child psychology and taking notes for a case I was working on. He was a pediatric nurse grabbing coffee between shifts, and something about the book I was reading caught his attention. "Heavy reading for a Saturday morning," he said with a gentle smile. Most people would have annoyed me with such an interruption, but there was something in his eyes that felt safe. We ended up talking for 3 hours about children trauma and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. He understood my work in a way that most people could not. Our relationship developed slowly, which was exactly what I needed. Marcus had infinite patience with my trust issues and the walls I had built around my heart. When I would pull away emotionally, he would give me space while making it clear he was not going anywhere. The first time he said he loved me 8 months into our relationship, I burst into tears. I had waited 20 years to hear those words from someone who meant them. Learning to believe that love did not always lead to abandonment was the hardest lesson of my adult life. Marcus proved it to me day after day with small consistencies. He called when he said he would call. He showed up when he said he would show up. He never used my vulnerabilities against me during arguments. Slowly, my heart began to trust again. We got married in a simple courthouse ceremony with just a few close friends as witnesses. I wore a cream-colored dress from a consignment shop, and Marcus wore his grandfather's tie. We could not afford a big wedding, but it was perfect because it was ours. For the first time in my life, I felt like I truly belonged to someone who would never leave me. 2 years later, we bought a small house in the Portland suburbs. It had 3 bedrooms, a white picket fence, and a big backyard perfect for children to play in. We were ready to become the family I had always dreamed of having. We decided to adopt from the foster care system because I knew there were children out there who needed us as much as we needed them. Emma and Liam came to us as a sibling set, ages 6 and 8 respectively. They had been in care for 2 years after being removed from a home where addiction had made their biological parents unable to care for them. Emma was quiet and watchful, while Liam was angry and defensive. They reminded me so much of myself that sometimes it took my breath away. Our first family dinner was awkward and tentative. Emma barely spoke, and Liam challenged every household rule we tried to establish. But gradually, with consistency and unconditional love, they began to trust us. I promised them every single day that they would never feel unwanted again, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. We established family traditions that I had always dreamed of having. Sunday morning pancakes became sacred time, where we would plan our week together. Bedtime stories were mandatory, even when the kids claimed they were too old for them. And most importantly, we never left the house without saying goodbye, and I love you. No one in our family would ever wonder if they mattered. The quiet years that followed were the most peaceful of my life. I continued my work with foster children and was eventually promoted to program director of our organization. Marcus and I went to couples therapy occasionally to work through the lingering effects of my childhood trauma. Emma and Liam thrived in school and made friends easily. We were a real family built on choice rather than biology. 20 years passed in what felt like a blink. I was 38 years old, successful in my career, happily married, and the mother of 2 incredible teenagers. Emma was 14 and wanted to be a veterinarian. Liam was 16 and had just gotten his driver's license. We had created the kind of stable, loving home that I had fantasized about during those lonely nights in foster care. I rarely thought about my biological parents anymore. In therapy, I had worked through most of my abandonment trauma and had reached a place of acceptance. They were part of my origin story, but they did not define my current chapter. I assumed they were either dead or so far removed from my life that they would never find me. That Tuesday morning started like any other. I was in a staff meeting at work discussing new protocols for child safety assessments when my phone started buzzing incessantly. The same unknown number kept calling back to back, which was unusual enough to be concerning. I stepped out of the meeting to check my voicemail, thinking it might be an emergency with one of our client families. The final voicemail made my blood run cold. Amanda, this is your father, Robert. We have been looking for you for a long time, and we finally found you. Please call me back. We have so much to explain, and we want to meet our grandchildren." The voice was older, rougher than I remembered, but unmistakably his. After 20 years of silence, they had found me. I rushed to the bathroom and locked the door, hyperventilating, as the walls seemed to close in around me. All the therapy, all the healing, all the carefully constructed peace I had built suddenly felt fragile and threatened. How had they found me? Why now? And how dare they refer to Emma and Liam as their grandchildren? Marcus had to leave work to come pick me up. I was shaking so hard I could not drive myself home. On the way, I told him about the voicemails, about the 39 missed calls from the people who had destroyed my childhood. He listened without judgment, holding my hand at red lights, reminding me that I was in control of this situation. That evening, with Marcus beside me on our living room couch, I called the number back. Linda answered on the first ring, as if she had been sitting by the phone waiting. Her voice was older too, more fragile, but hearing it brought back a flood of memories I had worked hard to bury. "Amanda, sweetheart, we are so sorry," she began, but I cut her off immediately. I was not ready for apologies. I needed answers first. They explained that what they had done was supposed to be funny, a way to teach me independence and self-reliance. They claimed they had driven around the block and come back to get me, but I was already gone. Their story did not add up, and I told them so. Officer Martinez had confirmed that they had used fake registration and withdrawn me from school weeks before the trip. This was not a spontaneous prank gone wrong. This was planned abandonment, and I wanted them to admit it. Robert's voice broke as he confessed the truth. They had been struggling financially and emotionally, and they had convinced themselves I would be better off in the system than with parents who could not provide for me properly. They had planned it carefully, believing it was somehow merciful to make it look like an accident rather than formal surrender. They told me they had hired a private investigator the previous year, consumed with guilt about what they had done. They knew about my career, my marriage to Marcus, and my adoption of Emma and Liam. They wanted to meet their biological grandchildren and be part of the family I had created. "You do not get to call them your grandchildren," I said firmly. "You gave up that right when you drove away from a gas station 20 years ago. You do not get to claim the family I built from the ashes of what you destroyed." The conversation lasted 2 hours, filled with tears, anger, and painful honesty. They begged for forgiveness, for a chance to make things right, for a relationship with me and my children. I told them I needed time to process everything, but that Emma and Liam were completely off limits. They were my children, and I would protect them from anyone who might hurt them. I spent the next week in therapy, working through the complex emotions that their reappearance had triggered. My therapist helped me understand that I had every right to set boundaries, that forgiveness was optional, and that I did not owe them a relationship just because they were biologically my parents. After much consideration, I agreed to meet them once in a public place for closure. Not for reconciliation, not for a relationship, but to say what I needed to say and close this chapter of my life permanently. We arranged to meet at a diner in Nebraska, about an hour from where they lived. Marcus drove with me to Nebraska that Saturday, holding my hand during the 6-hour drive and reminding me that I could leave at any time. Emma and Liam knew we were going to meet my biological parents, and I had been honest with them about why I had been upset the past week. They were angry on my behalf, which touched my heart deeply. Walking into that diner and seeing Robert and Linda after 20 years was surreal. They had aged significantly. Robert's hair was completely gray, and Linda looked much smaller than I remembered. But their eyes were the same, and for a moment I was 8 years old again, confused and abandoned in a gas station parking lot. They apologized repeatedly, explaining their regrets and how they had thought about me every day for 20 years. They showed me pictures they had saved from when I was little, talked about how proud they were of what I had accomplished, and begged for a chance to be grandparents to Emma and Liam. I listened to everything they had to say, and then I responded with the truth I had carried for 2 decades. I was 8 years old, I said calmly. I trusted you completely, and you destroyed that trust in the cruelest way possible. I spent years in foster care, believing I was unworthy of love because of what you did to me. I told them about the therapy, the nightmares, the trust issues that had taken me years to overcome. I explained how I had built my own family from scratch, how Emma and Liam were healing from their own abandonment trauma, and how I would never allow anyone to threaten their sense of security. I do not hate you, I said finally, but I do not forgive you either. I survived what you did to me, and that has to be enough. You do not get access to my children, and you do not get to be part of my life going forward. Robert started crying, and Linda reached across the table as if to touch my hand, but I pulled away. This was not a reunion. This was goodbye. I stood up, left money on the table for my untouched coffee, and walked out of the diner with Marcus beside me. The drive home was quiet but peaceful. I felt lighter somehow, like a weight I had been carrying for 20 years had finally been lifted. I had faced the people who had hurt me most, and I had survived. More than that, I had thrived in spite of them. That night, I tucked Emma and Liam into bed and told them I loved them just like I did every night. They were my real family, the one I had chosen and fought for and built with love and intention. Some families are given, but the best families are chosen. 6 months later, I received a letter from Linda telling me that Robert had died of a heart attack. She wanted me to know, and she wanted to apologize one more time. I read the letter once and then threw it away. I felt sad for the little girl I had been, who had loved them unconditionally, but I felt nothing for the adults who had abandoned her. I share this story not for sympathy, but as proof that we can survive the worst betrayals and still build beautiful lives. Emma is now in college, studying to be a social worker, inspired by my career helping children. Liam is married with a baby on the way, and he calls me every Sunday to check in. Marcus and I celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary last month. The family I chose has given me everything the family I was born into never could: unconditional love, security, and the knowledge that I matter. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us most will let us down, but that does not mean we are unworthy of love. It just means we get to choose better people to love us. Have you ever had to cut ties with family members who hurt you? How do you define family in your own life? Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on forgiveness versus boundaries when it comes to family trauma. Please like this video if my story resonated with you. Subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming childhood trauma, and share this with someone who might need to hear that they are worthy of love even when their biological family failed them. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that your worth is not determined by how others treat you. You have the power to build the life and family you deserve.